The apple pie felt warm against my palms as I stood on my parents' porch, the sharp November wind biting at my back. I had spent 3 full hours perfecting that dessert, my mother's favorite, foolishly hoping it might soften whatever tension waited for me inside. My knuckles barely brushed against the mahogany door when it swung open, and there they were. My father's broad shoulders filling the frame, my mother's pearls catching the foyer light. But their faces stopped me cold. My father's jaw was set in that way I had known since childhood, the way that meant his mind was already made up. My mother wouldn't even meet my eyes. "Scotty," Dad said, his voice clipped, stripped of warmth. "This isn't a good time." I blinked, confused. Not a good time? It was Thanksgiving dinner. We had agreed on 4 o'clock. "You're not invited this year, Scotty." It was my mother who finally looked at me, her eyes hard, foreign, unrecognizable. "We thought we made that clear." The pie in my hands suddenly weighed 100 pounds. My throat tightened. "Clear? When did you?" Dad shifted his weight, blocking the doorway even more, but not before I caught a glimpse inside. The dining room table was set with grandmother's china, candles flickering, wine poured. Dante sat in his usual chair, laughing at something I couldn't hear. And there, in the seat that had been mine for 31 years, sat Riley. Riley, who had once been my closest friend at the firm. Riley, who now filled my place like she had been born for it. "Is that Riley?" My own voice sounded thin, brittle, far away. My mother's fingers twitched nervously at her neck. "She's been very supportive through this difficult time." In that instant, the truth struck like a hammer. My family hadn't just excluded me, they had replaced me. Without hesitation, without thought, they had chosen someone else to sit in my place, to laugh at their table, to drink from my glass. The world narrowed to that threshold, that doorway I suddenly wasn't allowed to cross. Last Tuesday flashed through my mind. That afternoon, while reviewing client accounts, I'd first noticed the discrepancies. Preparing quarterly reports, I saw patterns that couldn't be coincidence. Transfers between accounts that had no logic. Money moving through channels designed to obscure, not clarify. I'd gone straight to my father's office, laptop in hand. "These transactions don't add up," I told him, turning the screen toward him. "Someone's shifting client funds through shell companies before they reach their intended investments." He barely glanced at the spreadsheet. "You don't understand how this business works. Leave it alone." "I understand exactly how it works," I said, my voice steady but my chest pounding. "That's the problem. This isn't aggressive strategy. This is fraud." He closed my laptop with one finger, as though swatting away an annoyance. "You're overreacting. This is how we maintain our competitive edge." "By stealing from clients?" His face hardened. "Lower your voice. This discussion is over." But it hadn't been over for me. 2 days later, I confronted him again, this time with more complete documentation. We stood in his wood-paneled office, the photographs of family vacations and milestone achievements staring down at us from the walls. "Dad, these transactions are illegal. We need to report this." "Report what?" His tone sharpened. "Your wild accusations? You destroy this family over a misunderstanding?" "It's not a misunderstanding." He leaned forward, lowering his voice to that dangerous register that had cowed me as a child. "Your loyalty should be to this family. First. Always." I remembered how my hands had trembled as I closed my laptop. Not from fear, but from clarity. For the first time in my life, I saw my father not as the untouchable titan I had idolized, but as a man making choices I could not and would not follow. Later, Dante cornered me in the parking garage, his cologne suffocating in the stale air. My brother. The golden child. The one who never questioned. "What are you doing, Scotty?" he hissed. "Let it go. You're jeopardizing everything we've built." "We didn't build anything on stolen money," I said. "I built my reputation on trust." He laughed, the sound bouncing off the concrete pillars. "Trust? This is finance, not friendship bracelets. Do you have any idea what you're risking? Your career? Your inheritance? Your place in this family?" I did know. I just hadn't realized how quickly they would make good on that threat. Now, standing on the porch with the pie cooling in my hands, it all became real. My career at the family firm. My financial security. My relationships. all of it hanging by a thread. And yet, as I met my father's unyielding gaze, what I felt wasn't devastation. It was relief. Like setting down a weight I had carried too long. "Keep the pie," I said finally, placing it into my mother's startled hands. "Consider it my parting gift." The following Monday, the file folder in my grip weighed almost nothing, but the documents inside crushed me like concrete. I had spent 3 sleepless days combing through every flagged transaction, and what I found went far beyond errors or creative accounting. My father had been systematically defrauding clients for years. The elevator doors opened to the executive floor of Perez Capital Management. My hands shook so badly I tucked the folder under my arm. Mrs. Bellamy's retirement account had been gutted by 60%. The Whitman's college fund for their twins was down $80,000. The Sanderson Foundation's endowment, millions siphoned off over 3 years. These weren't numbers on a page. They were lives. Futures. Victor's assistant avoided my eyes. "He's expecting you." Inside, my father stood behind his desk, the Chicago skyline glowing behind him. Dante lounged in an executive chair, scrolling his phone, while Uncle Martin, our longtime attorney, shuffled papers nervously. No one offered me a seat. I dropped the folder on Victor's desk. "This is fraud," I said, my voice steady. "Systematic. Deliberate. These are complex investment vehicles," Victor said dismissively. "You've always been impatient with the details." I pulled 5 years of records. I tapped the folder. The pattern is clear. Client funds diverted, funneled through shells, reinvested for the firm's benefit. It's textbook embezzlement. Martin cleared his throat. "Scotty, these allegations are extremely serious. You should consider the implications before." "Before what?" I snapped. "Before our clients find out we've been stealing from them?" Dante finally looked up. "Jesus. Scotty. Lower your voice. You knew." I stared at him, realization dawning. "You've been helping him cover it up." Victor circled his desk, positioning himself between me and the door. "We've created wealth for hundreds of families over decades. Markets change. Sometimes adjustments are necessary." Adjustments. I could barely contain my disgust. "You've robbed elderly retirees. You've destroyed lives." "Every client signs disclosure forms," Martin said quickly. "Legally, we're protected." The puzzle clicked into place. "That's why you rewrote the agreements last year. You were building shields against this very moment." Victor placed a heavy hand on my shoulder. "Scotty, you're part of this family. This firm is your legacy too. Not if it's built on theft." "Be reasonable," Dante said. "Think of what you're throwing away. Your inheritance. Your reputation." "My reputation?" I laughed bitterly. Like when Riley told people at the Thompson event that I was unstable. That wasn't her. That was you. You told her to spread those lies. Victor's face stayed cold. She was protecting this family while you tried to tear it apart. I looked at each of them, doubt flickering for just a moment. Was I missing something? Was I really unraveling? But the numbers didn't lie. The devastation facing those clients didn't lie. "If you proceed," Martin warned, "you understand the consequences?" Victor's voice cut sharp as ice. "No trust disbursements. No firm resources. No family support. You'll be on your own." I left without a word, the weight of their threats buzzing in my skull. In the elevator, I pressed the button for the accounting floor. Clara worked late on Mondays. I found her alone, spreadsheets covering her desk. "Can we talk?" She studied me, then whispered, "You found something, didn't you?" I nodded. "I've noticed irregularities too," she admitted, sliding a USB across the desk. "I've been tracking them for months." I was afraid to say anything. The validation nearly broke me. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't alone. But the family struck fast. 2 days later, a press release appeared announcing my temporary leave from Perez Capital, citing personal issues. The subtext was loud and clear. Scotty Perez was unstable, unreliable, unfit. My phone rang endlessly. Clients withdrawing, colleagues distancing, everyone believing the rumors. My accounts froze. My savings locked behind family-controlled walls. My apartment gone, replaced by a cramped one-bedroom rental in Evanston. The silence of those nights nearly destroyed me. I lived on coffee, on spreadsheets, on late-night walls covered with evidence. My body shrank, my reflection hollow-eyed, but my determination sharpened. Each documented transaction was another brick in the wall I was building between truth and lies. When my parents showed up uninvited one evening, they brought contracts for me to sign. Denials. Revisions of reality. Promises to return everything to normal. But normal was the problem. For the first time, their approval meant nothing. Their threats meant nothing. I was free. The next morning, Ethan from the SEC called. "We need to meet," he said, his voice urgent. Later, Clara whispered from her car. "I have more reports. I'm bringing everything." Even Uncle Martin's secretary quietly offered me files he had hidden away for years. Piece by piece, the truth assembled itself, undeniable and heavy as stone. And then, just when I thought I had seen it all, my phone lit up with a name I hadn't expected. Riley. Her message was short, sharp. "We need to talk before it's too late. For both of us." 2 days later, with the documents stacked high before me, I stepped into a sterile SEC conference room, its glass and steel gleaming like judgment. The air felt cold, impersonal, but my hands didn't shake anymore. Because I knew the truth. And this time, I wasn't letting it go. It fits my purposes with startling precision. I slide the last stack of documents across the polished table toward Ethan Caldwell, my eyes fixed on his as he examines the pages. His expression, usually composed and unreadable, shifts ever so slightly as the weight of what he's seeing takes root. I lean forward, tapping a highlighted line with my finger. "This transfer right here," I say, my voice calm but cutting, "shows exactly how client funds were funneled through shell companies before they ever touched their intended investments. Every step of the misdirection is mapped out. I've assembled it all into a timeline. 5 years of transactions, client impact statements, even internal memos proving the deliberate cover-up." Ethan removes his glasses slowly, rubbing the bridge of his nose as though he can massage away the enormity of what sits in front of him. "Miss Perez," he begins, his tone measured but heavy. "When you first contacted us, I assumed this was a family squabble dressed up as a financial dispute. Maybe an internal grudge. But this..." He spreads the papers across the table like a deck of cards being dealt in a high-stakes game. His eyes sweep over the details. "This is systematic. The sheer scale of it is criminal?" I finish for him, my voice clipped. He nods, his professional veneer cracking just enough to reveal genuine concern. "Yes. And it's ongoing." A tight breath escapes me, not quite relief but close. "That's why I came to you. I needed this to be official." His jaw firms. "I'll need to bring in our forensic accounting team. This triggers a full-scale investigation." "That's what I was counting on," I murmur, gathering my bag. I'm halfway across the parking lot to my car when my phone buzzes in my pocket. The name flashing on the screen makes me pause. Riley. For a moment, I consider ignoring it. Then, against my better judgment, I swipe to answer. "Can we meet?" she asks, her voice coated in the same honeyed tone I once mistook for warmth. "Just you and me. Like old times." "The Standard?" 1 hour. The lounge at the Standard is nearly empty, its low lights and polished surfaces reflecting a cool, understated elegance. Riley sits tucked into a corner, a tumbler of amber liquid in front of her, her manicured fingers drumming a rhythm against the glass. When she looks up, her smile is tight, calculated. "You look terrible," she says, tilting her head as though she's offering concern. I sit across from her, expression blank. "What do you want, Riley?" She leans in, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "They're offering you $5 million to walk away." The words hit like a slap. "Excuse me." $5 million, she repeats smoothly, as if discussing whether. "Tax-free. Offshore account. All you have to do is sign a statement saying you misinterpreted the transactions and withdraw your claims." I slip my hand into my pocket, pressing the record button on my phone. "And who exactly is they?" She doesn't blink. "Your father, of course." With Dante's full blessing. She takes a delicate sip of her drink, eyes gleaming. "You've made your point, Scotty. You proved you have principles. Now take the win, and the money." My laugh is low, humorless. That sounds suspiciously like a bribe to obstruct a federal investigation. She rolls her eyes, forcing a laugh that doesn't touch her eyes. Don't be melodramatic. Think of it as family business being resolved privately. By concealing fraud with hush money? By offering you a way out before this spirals and destroys everyone. She pushes an envelope toward me, her nails clicking against the table. Names, account numbers, transfer details. 5 million reasons to end this now. I don't move to touch it. You realize you've just confirmed on record that there's something criminal to cover up? Her smile falters, panic flickering across her features as the realization sets in. Too late. She knows it. The next morning, Clara's voice comes through the phone, breathless with urgency. I've sent everything to Ethan. 7 years of records, Dad's altered board notes, the internal memos no one was supposed to see. My throat tightens. Clara. Thank you. That couldn't have been easy. Easier than choking on lies every day, she replies sharply. Martin's handing over documentation too. All the legal gymnastics they use to shield themselves. By afternoon, it's moving faster than I imagined. Ethan calls to confirm. The SEC has frozen Perez Capital's assets and opened a formal investigation. Clara's records and Martin's legal files mesh seamlessly with the evidence I've compiled, the pattern undeniable. By market close, the headlines hit. Financial fraud probe targets Chicago firm. I'm still staring at the glowing words on my phone when the call comes. My father. His voice, once so commanding, trembles faintly. This has gone too far, Scotty. I stay silent. We need to talk. As a family. At the house. His desperation bleeds through the cracks in his composure. Tomorrow. 7 o'clock. Please. The word, please, sounds foreign coming from him. I end the call without promise or protest. For the first time in months, my hands don't shake. The next evening, I sit in my parents' living room, leather cool against my palms. The skyline beyond the windows glitters with evening light, but where once it felt like triumph, now it looks hollow, like a castle built on sand. Father stands near the fireplace, his frame missing its familiar confidence. Mother paces, diamonds catching and scattering the lamplight. Dante lounges opposite, steepling his fingers like some courtroom tactician. We've prepared a statement, Father says, sliding a folder across the coffee table. The board agrees you should take control of the company. I don't touch it. Control of what? A firm collapsing under federal investigation. A setback, he counters quickly, his voice softening, searching for the persuasive charm he once wielded so easily. You can fix this, Scotty. Sign the amended statement, assume leadership, and we'll frame this as a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? The word lands sharp between us. Mother steps forward, eyes bright with tears. Please, Scotty. 40 years of work, your father's legacy, everything we built, it can't end like this. Not over some discrepancies. They weren't discrepancies, I reply evenly. They were deliberate acts of fraud against people who trusted you. Dante's composure cracks. He slams his hand against the chair. Do you understand what you've done? 3 generations built this firm. Grandfather clawed his way from nothing. You'd burn it all to the ground because you've suddenly discovered morality? Their desperation has a taste, bitter, but almost sweet after months of their cruelty. You want me to lie to federal investigators? To captain a sinking ship and pretend the water isn't rising? Father lowers himself beside Mother, clutching her trembling hand. We're offering you everything. The company. Vindication. Your place in this family restored. My place. I pull my laptop from my bag, flipping it open. Let me show you what I've been working on instead. I spin the screen toward them. A restitution fund for the clients whose money you stole. Mother gasps. Father leans forward, eyes narrowing. I've put in everything I had saved, including bonuses I earned before I knew the truth. Clara's contributed her trust fund. Even Martin added his share. It won't cover it all, but it's a start. For the retirees, the small business owners, the families you gutted. You'd bankrupt yourself for strangers? Father's voice is hollow. For the truth, I answer, closing the laptop with finality. A legacy built on lies isn't worth defending. The room stills. Mother weeps softly, father crumples into silence. Dante paces to the window with his back turned. I've brought paperwork, I continue, pulling an envelope from my bag. I'm resigning from the family trust. I renounce my inheritance, my shares, my stake in Perez Capital, any claim to the properties. It's already been reviewed by my lawyer. Color drains from father's face. You can't mean that.
I've never been more certain.
Dante schemes the papers, throws them back. This is your final answer? You'd choose strangers over your blood. I meet his glare without flinching. I chose the truth. You taught me family protects its own. Those clients trusted us.
They were family too.
Father slumps, a puppet with cut strings. Mother sobs harder. The house feels smaller, suffocating. I stand, shouldering my bag. The SEC will announce charges tomorrow.
They have everything they need.
I pause in the foyer, eyes catching the mantelpiece. The silver-framed photos shine under lamplight. My graduation photo, once displayed proudly in the center, is gone. In its place, an empty space. A deliberate erasure. They had replaced me long before this night. I wait for someone to call me back, to ask me to stay. Silence answers. I step out into the November night, closing the door with a click that sounds like freedom. 1 year later, sunlight pours through the bare windows of my Evanston townhouse, filling it with golden warmth. The walls smell of fresh paint and new beginnings. Client files spread across the floor in neat stacks, not billion-dollar portfolios but honest accounts. Teachers, small business owners, retirees. People who deserve protection. I sip coffee from my chipped Northwestern mug as I review Mrs. Henderson's plan, the retired teacher who trusted me after reading the Financial Times profile that called me the reformer redefining industry standards. The article hangs framed not in my office, but my kitchen, a reminder for the moments doubt creeps in. Bigger isn't better, I murmur to my reflection in the glass.
Honest is better.
My phone buzzes with Clara's text. Don't forget cranberries. Everyone's here at 4. I smile. A year ago, I stood at my parents' porch with a pie, barred from entering. Now, my own table overflows with mismatched thrift store plates and laughter. Clara arranges flowers, Martin carves turkey. Ethan from the SEC chats with Mrs. Henderson. Colleagues who believed in me fill the remaining seats. I raise my glass. Last Thanksgiving, I thought I'd lost everything. Today, I know I've gained what matters most. To second chances, and the courage to take them. And to family, Clara adds softly, the kind we choose. The toast rings clear, the warmth in the room eclipsing anything money could buy. Later, as Martin helps with dishes, he leans close. Your father asked about you at sentencing.
Dante too.
I place a glass carefully in the rack. I heard the ethics board wants me to help restructure industry standards. You'd be perfect, he says. Your name means integrity now, not just legacy. The doorbell rings. Through the peephole, Dante stands hunched against the chill, a covered dish in his hands. His arrogance is gone, replaced by something gaunt, uncertain. My hand hesitates on the knob. The board papers lie unsigned on my desk. Moving forward doesn't mean forgetting, but it does mean deciding whether forgiveness can free us, or whether some boundaries must remain forever intact. I inhale slowly, then open the door wider.